Hello, everybody. Figured I'd get a jump on these intraday and holdings for tomorrow. These are the intraday holdings for February 22nd and the holdings at the end of the day. I'm going to do this one a little different. I got to thinking about it, and instead of doing all of the trades and then all of the holdings, I'm gonna do the trade, for example, for AIYY, and then I'm going to jump over and do the holdings. That way, I can do them together, because I know some of you may only be looking for certain ETFs, and then this way I can do both of them together, and it might make more sense to do it that way too, because I do know I was jumping around some lately. So we're going to start with AIO. The other thing is, I did not filter this time, but I didn't filter because I wanted to show the trading cost on the left hand side, as you can see, and I try to color code things to make sure to draw my attention, and hopefully we'll get through this video a little quicker than the last few ones we've done. But so going into AIYY, so they closed out the weekly calls that were going to expire tomorrow. So the $29 strike and the $31 strike price. They've closed both of those, but then they've opened the new weekly calls for next week's expiration. So March 1st is next Friday. And let's see, so they've actually, you see that's the same number of contracts here, and they were both rolled into a $31 strike price. You can see on the right hand side in the yellow, they made quite a bit of money off of opening. Well, technically, if you look at both calls, since they're both the same strike price, they're just different two transactions logged. That's where obviously the money was made. But it shows over here our total trading cost, or what we made. I guess maybe I should word that a little better. But our total of what we made there was $520,000. As you can, well, sorry, I said I was going to move over. So you can see here they closed out the 29 and 31 and opened the 30. So if we go over here, we can see the AIYY, and we can see now that we only have that one weekly call at that $31 for that 6,500 contracts. So we can see over on the left-hand side, we have the price, the close price as of today, which was $16.42. We had AI close at $26.63, and then we have that strike at 31, so we're a little over $4 away from that strike for the one that will be next week, March 1st. So now our total weekly call value here is $494, negative $494. So we'll jump back over here, and we see AMDY didn't have any trades, so we'll just go ahead and go over that. And what I did do on this sheet, I highlighted all of the contracts that will expire tomorrow. So we see here AMDY, it closed today at $22.71. AMD closed at $181.86. And then our weekly calls, we have several different strike prices here. So 170, 177.50. We've already passed those. And then we have, but there's not many contracts there. And then we have the 185 and 187.50 strike prices with the most number of contracts. And then we still have our 190 there. So on this sheet, we have our weekly call value so far is negative 493K. So if we go back over to our trades, we had some trades here for AMSI. You can see here that they added 100 contracts to the synthetic call and put there. And then they opened a new position expiring next Friday for $175 strike at 100 contracts. So here we're looking at the trade cost of actually costing us 125K there. If we go over here to our holdings for AMSI, so you see that new strike price there, that March 1st of 175, and then we have those 2 weekly calls that will close out tomorrow at the strike prices of 172.50 and 175. So AMSI, before I forget, AMSI closed at 22.95 today. Amazon is at 174.58. So we've already surpassed that first strike price, and we're only about 40 cents from our 175 strike price. Our weekly call value here is negative 140. I can't even talk now. Negative 423K for AMSI. We'll jump on over back to our trades, and it looks like we didn't have any trades for Aptly here. So let's just review Aptly real quick for any changes today. So Aptly closed today at 18.27. Apple closed at 184.37. We only have the 1 weekly call that expires tomorrow with a strike price of 185. So we are about 63 cents from that. So we're really close, but we'll see how tomorrow goes. And we're right now at a negative 152 weekly call value there. So we'll move on over to Coney. Again, I'm sure all of you know and follow along that Retire on Dividends goes in depth on Coney and Tesla every day, and then also does a weekly recap on those on Monday, for Mondays or Tuesdays if it's a holiday. So don't forget to tune into those. But just a glance here for my purposes, they added to the synthetic call put of the strike price of 190 at 140 contracts. They did close out the 205 strike 18,410 contracts. I believe they only had that one, and then they opened up another one for next week. They have it here on 2 lines. So we have, looks like 9,540 contracts at 185 strike price. And you can see we made quite a bit of money for doing that one. And let's see, we made a little bit on the that synthetic put right there too. But our total money in was $2.9 million for these trades. And just to quickly go over to our holdings here. So we can see that new strike price, that 185, but we still have one that's going to close out tomorrow on the 223 one at 177.50. And so Coney today closed at 22.35, and I don't know how closely all of you follow, but Coney, I think, jumped up like $2 today itself. A lot of these jumped up, but I believe this one was about $2. Coin here was one closed at 170.91, and we have that 177.50 contract. So we only have 175 contracts at that strike price, but we're still about $6.50 away from that. So we don't have much on the line with that one, but we're $14 to the weekly call that will expire next Friday. shows our weekly call value here is negative 3.2 million. So we will move on back over to our trades. So we have Disney here. If you see, they've closed out the 113, 114, and 115 strike contracts that were going to expire tomorrow. And they have opened up the weekly call expiring next Friday for $110. And you can see we've made a total there of $20,710 for those trades today. So if we go on over to here, you can see here now we only have that one strike price there for that 110. And today Dizzo closed at 21.57. Disney was at 107.64, so we're $2.36 from that strike price. And here we show a negative 20K weekly call value. So I was hoping not to go back up to the top there, so there we go. So then we had Facebook, Meta there, so we didn't have any trades. So let's go back over here. Okay, so you see here we have our 3 highlighted weekly calls that expire tomorrow: 480, 485, and 500 strike. Facebook today closed at 23.27. Meta, I think I said Facebook, I'm sorry, at Phoebe, FBY, however you pronounce or say that. Meta was at 486.13, so we can see that it's gone above our first 2 strikes, which is almost all of our contracts. So I guess we're hoping that they're going to go down tomorrow, because the only one that it hasn't surpassed is the 500 strike price, which is only 30 contracts. So we are about $13 from that one over the others. So right now we're looking at a negative 40K weekly call value there. So we'll go over to those GUI trades because I know we saw some of those. So here they added to the synthetic call put 30 contracts, and then they opened 147 for next Friday. So we brought in a total of about 20,000 there. And let me go over here. I can't recall. Okay, so that was 147. So that was a new one. Tomorrow, though, we have expiring the 144, 145, and 146 contracts. So GUI itself closed at 17.19. Google price was 144.09. So we're just a tiny bit past that first strike price of ours of 35 contracts. Our next one, we're about 90 cents from it with 800 contracts, and we're $1.90 away from the 830 contracts. So not looking too bad over here. We have our weekly call value of negative 52,000 there. And so on the other side, I don't believe JPMO had any trades. So we'll go ahead and look here. We have our calls expiring tomorrow, our 180 strike and our 182.50. It looks like we closed for JPMO today at 20.95, but JPM closed at 183.07. So you can see we're actually maxed out because we are over both of our calls. So maybe we'll come down a little bit tomorrow because you can see in the column O over here, the first one would cost us, if we closed it today, $3 and something to close it out, and the other one $1 something. So we'll see how tomorrow goes on that. And we have a negative 82K for the weekly call value for that one. let me check where we're at over here. So we don't have any more until we get down to NVIDIA. Man, sorry. There's a little trick you got to do, and I don't always remember to click the right order so it doesn't scroll back to the top. I'm an Excel person, not a Sheets person, so I'm having to learn Sheets, so please bear with me. But we have Murney here. The close price today was $20.26. Moderna, which reminds me, they had earnings come out before in pre-market today, and so their earnings turned out well. I can't remember what their price. They were $80 something, I think, yesterday, 89 or something. I have that on one of these tabs down here, but our Moderna close price was $99.44. So as you can see, we're maxed out because our strike price is $98. So we're over it just a little bit there. We were at 100 or maybe even 101 at some point today. So it did come down just a little bit already. But as of end of day there, it looks like it would have cost us $228 to close those. But we'll see how tomorrow goes. So right now that weekly call value is negative 473. So to go to MSFO, our close was 2260. Microsoft closed at 411.65. We are less than $1 from the first strike price with half of our contracts at with a strike price of $412.50 and 420 contracts, and then we have a strike price of $415 of 400 contracts, which would be about $3 away. So those will expire tomorrow. And our total weekly call value right now is negative 87,000. And then so I have Misty on here, MSTY, that I forgot about this morning until I received the email reminding us that it was out. And I'm sure they put out a notification on Twitter as well. But if you're not already, if you'll sign up to Yieldmax's for their emails on their website, then every time they have distributions or announcements or anything like that, then you'll see those pop up in your email box. But we ended up closing at 21.23. I try to get into these early, unfortunately, when they're new like that, and they're like halted, and then it's hard to get into those. So I wasn't able to actually purchase any of those shares today. Usually I wait, but this one I was actually going to buy on the day of. It just didn't work out for me. So, but we sorry about that. So we closed. It would have opened around $20, and it closed at 21.23. So MSTR MicroStrategies price closed at 713.15, and our strike price is 730 at 37 contracts, which do expire tomorrow. So right now we're about $17 away, and our weekly call value is negative 34,000. We'll move on to Netflix here. It was at 1865, closed today. Netflix at 588.47. So we're past that first strike price of 585 with 25 contracts, or $1.50 from the 590 and 40 contracts. But then most of our contracts are in that 605. So we're still about $16 away from that, which is 505 contracts. So our weekly call value there is about negative 42K. So if we go over to our trades for NVIDIA, they added to the synthetic call put today, 25 contracts, and then they opened up a new position for next week, expiring next Friday at $810 there. So if we go over here, we see that new 810 there. And then we see our other two weekly calls that expire tomorrow. We have our 780 strike price, which we've already gone past today because we're at, as of close today, it was at 785.38. It's only 115 contracts, but we have our $820 strike price at with 2,635 contracts. So hopefully that's going to have us covered there. And so NVIDIA itself jumped about $4 from pre-market to open, but it was, I don't know, it was six, maybe, I think somewhere around $6 between yesterday's close and today's close. I did watch it this morning at open to see, and because I'd mentioned something about, well, we were wondering if the price would drop to like the NAV price when the market opened, and it did not. So it was like, I don't know, it might have been $27 before the market even opened. I can't really remember. But I do know it never really dropped. It fluctuated along with NVIDIA itself, how it did and how most do when they drop and or go straight up. It went along with it, but nothing out of the norm like would have been expected. So I just thought I would let you know that. It looks like from that, I don't think I mentioned it, but from our close today to that 820 strike price, we're about $35 from that. So we're close of day. Our weekly call value is negative 485 or 86K there. So let's see for trades. We did have some OARC trades here. So for our weekly call, they closed out our 5250 strike that we're going to expire tomorrow. I think that was the only one. There's 13,685 contracts. They got to close them for 1 penny, so that's awesome. And then they opened up a new weekly call expiring next week with a strike price of $50.50, bringing in 684K for that. So total funding brought in there was 670,000 for the trades, for today's trades. So we look over here at our holdings. We can see here, we only have the one weekly call, the one that we just did. And so OARC closed today at 12.93. ARC itself was at 48.48. And with that new strike price, we're only $2 away from it. So right now the weekly call value is negative 610,000. So we didn't have any PayPal on the other side, on the other tab for trades. So just a reminder here, we have our two weekly calls, our $60 and $61 strike. I thought this one would go up today when block went up, but I guess that was after hours. So I guess we will see tomorrow, because block did report after hours today, and it was good. So they did go up. So usually these two run somewhat together, unless it's Bitcoin related, then not so much. But anyway, sorry. So back to PayPal. So PayPay, there at 17.86 closed today, and PayPal was at a 58.35 close. So we're about $1.65 from our first strike price, which is where most of the contracts are, and $2.65 from the 75 contracts. So our weekly call value there is negative 17,000. So that's not bad compared to some of those others. Not bad at all. So let's move over to Square, because I knew we had trades in that, and I was wanting to look at my phone. I did not look to see The last time I saw Square, sorry, I do keep saying Square. The last time I saw Block after hours, we were at $77. So let me look. It was one of my top earners today. So it looks like our post market hours, we closed at 8 o'clock at 76.97. So just to put that out there, almost $77. So here they closed 310 contracts for the synthetic call put and the weekly call. So we didn't really make money here. You see, it cost us $31,000 to do these. Now, if we move over to the holdings here, you can see we still have 5,005 contracts left there at that $76 strike. And at the synthetics, they're all 5,500. But we'll see, notice here, their cash is negative 730K. So I really don't know, since I haven't been following all these, actually just this week consistently. I don't know how they normally do these things here, but you do show that this one, technically Tesla down below too, have a negative cash value. So anyway, I guess they had to close some out there, so they did. But we still have the rest of these that will close tomorrow at the 76, and like I said, we're at 77 post market. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. But SQY closed today at 21.17. So with that said, just to tell you, SQY in after hours, our bid ask prices were $22.50 to $23.50. So in the middle of those two is about $23. So we were up a couple of dollars there, $1 to $2 after hours. And then of course you see this, the block there was $67.96, but it's up $9, and so we're already there. So that difference isn't going to matter for in the morning. So that's putting our weekly call value at negative 833K. Not sure if they're just going to let this play out tomorrow, or if they're going to close this first thing in tomorrow due to the earnings. I guess we will see how that goes. And then I cannot remember. Short-term memory here, so no. So no more trades for the day. So we'll just go back to the holdings real quick. Tesla, again, you see there we have our weekly 200 call, and we're still doing good at that. Tesla closed today at 197.41, so we're 259 away from there. And you get to see, like I pointed out, we're like negative 93K on that one. But Tesla itself closed at 921 today, and it looks like overall our weekly call value at this point is negative 4.3 million. If we go down to Zomo's price closed at 1746. Zom or XOM or Exxon closed at 104.76. And as you can see, we're still above that strike price there of 103. So we'll see that closed out tomorrow, and we'll see what strike price they're going to give us for next week. But right now, our weekly call value is negative 210,000 there. So we'll go on down here. YMAG, our close price today was $20.62. And then if we go on down, YMAX shows $20.75 It's interesting. For some reason, I don't know, maybe I just looked at them this morning, didn't look at them again, but the prices on those are close together, and there was a bigger gap than that before. We're still looking at about the same outstanding shares there. So, but yeah, so that's going over all of the trades today, the holdings, and then we include Misty and MicroStrategy in there. But I think that's it, because we went over Moderna, we mentioned Misty being the brand new one, and that we had block earnings this afternoon. So tomorrow, I'll make sure I capture the rest of those trades, and then I'll get a video out sometime before the week starts. And I say that because I'm not sure. My daughter's 13th birthday is this weekend, and we were going to do birthday stuff, but we may end up going to Tennessee with family instead. But we'll see. But I'll work it in there at some point, because we know on Friday is most of the time, or at least I would assume most of the time, when we close out contracts and buy our next week's strikes. What we can see here, our next week contracts, that we already did some for today. But I figure tomorrow will be a lot bigger day with a lot more trades. But until then, I will talk with y'all later. Bye.